What brings the worst out in people? Divorce proceedings. Especially with kids involved. It can turn a couple of average people into monsters. Ye but to Christmas. Coming from someone who had their parents divorce at 10, I beg to differ on this. Spend the bulk of the day on the road with various people upset that you're not where they think you should be. I always liked the HALT rule. If you're feeling hungry, angry, late or tired, then it's likely things you say or do will come off worse than you intend. One of my favorite quotes that is related to this. If you think everyone hates you, you probably need to sleep. If you think you hate everyone, you probably need to eat. I feel like this is how I got fat. The word free in a retail or restaurant type of setting. People will trample one another, take all of the items so there aren't any for others, gorge themselves, try to sneak food out with them. It's disgusting. I was going to say that the first manager who camped products due to poor service really screwed it up for everyone. Now I have to listen to someone who wants something for free because the box has a dent in it. There was a clinic in my city that wanted to try the Robin Hood style service, where they would charge well-off patients, but treat the poor for free. This ended up backfiring as they got flooded with poor patients and even those who could afford treatment pretending to not be able to. They closed down and presumably moved location within a year. When a loved one dies, people get really weird in a bad way about money and stuff. I know a bunch of people who had relatives who flat out stole money and valuables after the death of a family member. It's crazy. My own family has a permanent rift because when my grandmother died, 2 of the 5 siblings cleaned out her accounts. Hell, they don't even have to be dead. When my great grandmother moved from her apartment to a nursing home, some of her children and grandkids helped her pack up her apartment, by which I mean it was a full-on feeding frenzy of theft. She was a 87-year-old woman who had been widowed for about 50 years at that point, so she certainly wasn't wealthy, but some of those people would have ripped down the wallpaper if they thought they could have sold it. My dirtbag cousin stole about $40,000 cash that his dad had stashed in the house when both of his parents were in a nursing home. My cousin had been a real asshole to a lot of people over the years, but this was the final straw. I never spoke to him again. He died a few years later. TBH, I didn't mourn. Weddings. My father is a minister. He says he would rather help with a funeral over a wedding any day. Weddings leave people with a sense of extreme desperation to achieve perfection. The worst is when the expectation for perfection is from the mother of the bride and not the engaged couple. Nothing worse than 2 kids trying to have a nice day and momzilla just freaking decimates it because she can't stand not being the center of attention for one moment. As someone in the wedding industry, this right freaking here. Stress. Most of us are capable of being decent human beings who make a positive contribution to society. You add stress into the mix and people start to crack. Financial stress, relationship stress, work stress, it doesn't matter. When our focus is pulled into simply surviving and staying afloat, our ability to empathize or provide support to others greatly diminishes. I think this is tied in with the low morale we are all experiencing right now. We are all unbelievably stressed. I've seen some of the nicest people completely snap and act shockingly because they just can't take the pressure anymore. Add lack of sleep and you get a human grenade. You don't know where or how, but they are going to go off. Exactly, and stress leads to insomnia or nightmares for many, so it's a circle. You sleep less, have no energy, more stress, even less sleep, and so on till one snaps and it's a disaster. Traffic. A person who is cut off while driving. F you. That same person who is cut off while walking. Oop. Sorry. After you. It's really hard to kill someone by walking into them. It's really easy to kill someone by driving into them. I think the stakes and the stress that comes with them are what makes the difference here. Inheritances. I've seen both my family and friends' families absolutely ripped apart after someone dies and another family member doesn't feel they've received their share, or that the will was unfair, or that property mysteriously goes missing before the estate is settled. Awful stuff. I think the worst is my friend's dad and his sister haven't spoken for over 30 years due to a squabble over their mother's will. 30 years. The kicker is that they're both quite well off on their own. Friend's dad is a very successful trial lawyer and friend's aunt married a successful doctor. This wasn't money either of them ever actually needed, but they've not had a relationship for decades because of it. My grandmother isn't even dead and people are already deciding how they'll split the inheritance like there won't be a will. She's got hundreds of thousands, and I've been consistently telling her to spend it all on herself. The lady never had a brand new car in all her life. She's 90 and got her license before she hit 20. She bought a thick ass CRV recently and a house for her and her daughter, cash. I'm honestly worried about what's gonna happen to my dad if he dies. Like my aunts, which I absolutely despise, already act as if he owes them money, car rides, places to party, etc. simply cause he has a little bit more money than they do. These are the people who constantly throw him in the dirt and call him a retard, and I absolutely think they will harass me for money when he dies, yet he refuses to create a will. They've done that same crap with my grandma, but she's had a will for years and years. Hunger can make people do things they never thought they were capable of doing. It can drive your mind out of control. This is why the food bank is my favorite charity to give to. I've never experienced true food insecurity, but I've been moderately hungry from time to time, and notice how terrible everything becomes from your mood to the ability to function. How can anyone hope to improve their situation in life with that kind of constant debuff? I joked as a child once when all we had in the fridge and pantry were condiments that I called dibs on the steak sauce. I'm always thankful for how much my parents did and do with so little. Desperation. Absolutely this. Especially these days, when people are stressed to frick and losing their income causes people to take drastic measures they wouldn't normally even consider. Also addicts to support their habit. Unprocessed trauma from childhood. As someone that is struggling with mental health, I'm only now beginning to understand why I do a lot of what I do. When our needs for love and acceptance aren't met, we seek out soothing behaviors that numb the pain. It's really easy to end up in midlife with no real idea what it means to be happy and feeling no connection to others. As you begin to work on your issues, you find that the soothing behaviors are no longer as soothing because you know why you're doing it. So, you're stuck with the emptiness that you've always felt and no way to get out of the feeling. I was looking for this answer. When something triggers you and reminds you of past trauma, that brings out the absolute worst in you because you panic and it's hard to control. I just feel permanently triggered. My brain is hypervigilante and doesn't know how to relax. The result is that I'm unable to relate to people on a higher functioning social level. It's hard to enjoy small talk when your brain is scanning for tigers. The resulting social failures only reinforce the feeling of isolation. When you were told to wait 20 minutes and it's now been 21 minutes and you are still waiting. When you say something starts at 9, it starts at noon. Anonymity. Putting a mask on, being on the internet, or otherwise concealing one's identity. People do some very fricked up things when they know they won't be held accountable. This reminds me of when Instagram introduced the question sticker to the store as part of the app in 2018. People thought they could ask questions anonymously, but the app shows you who asked the question. I'd like to think that hundreds of friendships were broken that week when the feature was implemented. That was a rude awakening for a lot of people. I think I remember a radio host in my city had to make her Instagram story stating that the feature is not anonymous and that he could see the rude and hateful messages people were sending, or the very personal ones asking about exes and family members. He went on to say that people need to watch what they say online, cause sometimes when you think you're being anonymous, you aren't. Some good answers here, to which I'll add, giving things away for free. I've had the surreal experience of working at a Long Island tennis tournament attended by generally very wealthy people. They arrived in top-end luxury cars, almost wearing designer clothes and watches worth more than my car. I was tasked with opening a case of some sort of little branded tchotchke, like cheap pens, keychains, etc., and handing them out to the attendees as they walked the sponsor areas. People went berserk, shoving each other, lunging across the table. Thank cripes there was a table. to grab stuff from my hand, missing key tennis matches, to lurk by our tent, awaiting the next crap dispersal. Wow. I've seen this type of thing happen many other times too, with people going to great lengths just to get some pittance of which they have no need. There was a line in Crazy Rich Asians: no one loves free stuff more than rich people. I was floored how in the book all these extremely wealthy women who flew to Paris on a private jet that had a state-of-the-art yoga studio inside of it wanted to take all of the hotel freebies, bottled water and cook ramen in their hotel room. Lol. Black Friday. Ah yes, the only day of the year you can see a Karen curb stomp a kid over a PS5. I spent 10 years in retail. I absolutely refuse to step out my front door on Black Friday for anything short of a medical emergency. We have leftovers and running water, so we can survive 24 hours. Power. Almost every dictatorship ever. They don't want to lose their power. Reminds me of a quote I heard recently. What's the one thing that people with power want? More power. Travel. To know what a person is really like, go traveling with them. I lost one of my greatest friends of many years due to my birthday trip to Puerto Rico, just the two of us. I don't know what it was that caused the shift, but I literally didn't recognize her after the trip. It was awful. The worst part was I was her maid of honor at her wedding a month or so later. I tried to have a talk with her that maybe I should back out, and we had what I thought was a great talk and apology. Found out she was only nice to me after the trip to make sure I didn't back out. Barely acknowledged my day off. She cancelled my speech and gave it to another bridesmaid, and we never spoke again after the wedding. Like, why would you want me in your wedding photos for the rest of your life? Scarcity. Ugh. This 100%. It's bad enough with concert ticket resellers, but the scumbags will do it with anything. There's a new Lego bonsai tree set my girlfriend wants, and it's her birthday soon. It's sold out everywhere, but there are 100s of them on eBay at inflated prices. The top one has 19 sold on it. I bought mine from Target, but it really confuses me why people are trying to wrestle the newest Legos. They're gonna restock at some point, and even so after rebate fees and shipping they're making like $5. I don't get their logic unless they straight up stole them. Funerals. All the heightened emotions make people irrational. Any buried family drama comes out at the worst possible time. I've been caught in the middle of it before. I didn't even know the deceased. I was there supporting my friend who had lost her mother. Someone decided this was the time to air a 20-year-old grudge as my friend walked by. My friend was so caught off guard by the accusations she was speechless. I told this crazy lady this wasn't the time or the place for this conversation, so she turned on me. Next thing I knew, some other family member was violently yanking her out of the room. I guess it could have been worse, but why did you have to make a scene at a funeral? My great-grandmother died a few years back, and my aunt told my other aunt's son that he looked handsome and that she was excited for him to start at insert secretary school here at the reception, and he decided to rip absolute ass in front of her in response. He farted on her. Mario Kart. Monopoly. You know. Basically any game where you can really frick over your friends and family. See, my family used to embrace that. My brother, my step-siblings, and I used to play a version of Monopoly which was essentially Calvin Ball on a board. The goal was to enrage each other, which would then prompt exaggerated laughter from the others. This entire game was played while we drank sparkling cider, which was our stand-in for champagne, directly from the bottle. On one memorable occasion, I won by robbing the bank, then insisting that the manager had owed me a favor. My brother shouted about how I was cheating, which signaled my victory. I've always kinda thought stealing from the Monopoly bank is in the spirit of the game. Ego. That's the word. I was about to say jealousy and the constant need for revenge, but ego fits better. Money. The moment money is involved, a person's true nature comes out, and most of the time it won't be pretty. This reminds me of all the people who lost their money due to lotteries, because so many people thought they deserved some of it till the actual winner had nothing left. I did an April Fool's prank many years back, where I posted a pic of a legit scratch-off ticket, but used Microsoft Paint to cut/paste the winning symbols over the losing symbols, so it looked like I won $1 million. Man, The number of people that were texting me telling me congrats, etc. was off the charts. I only had one person ask me for money, but that's probably because I only let the prank go on for like 2-3 days. League of Legends. Amen. Something about that game makes people go apecrap. MOBA should be used as a torture method. Every time you join a match, you roll the proverbial dice. Depending on the roll, you either get 4 tactical geniuses who'll carry the game within 15 minutes, or get 4 stooges who manage to be just good enough to make your eventual loss last an agonizing 30 minutes. There's a reason why I play barely any team-based games anymore, and it'll be a cold day in hell before I queue for a competitive match. I unironically believe that MOBA developers make losing as unfun as possible to force an emotional connection between you and the game. Not being accepted by other people. Social contact and validation is no different from food or water. Yes, people can starve on validation too. That's why simple things like greeting strangers in the street or always saying thank you are so critically important. Jealousy. Not just for success. I've seen many relationships crumble because someone was happier than the other. Jealousy is often a secondary emotion to fear. It's a really hard one to process without addressing the fears creating it first. Envy is the same boat. Fight both with understanding the fears behind it first and work to be more secure about those items. People get real stupid when it comes to their kids. The my baby can do no wrong attitude when your child is freaking crap up needs to stop. This is the worst. My family is friends with a group of families who've known each other for a while. We went to one of their birthdays and the youngest kid ran up and licked the birthday cake. He was also overall being a little crap and everyone was laughing and all like haha, that's just his personality. I got so mad I wanted to leave. That behavior wouldn't be tolerated if he was 18. Why is it tolerated now? Politics. I thought for sure this would be at the top. People get real ugly when you have a different opinion. Well, I think that's because politics ultimately deals with social power, who has power, who doesn't, and how that power is used to influence the lives of others, for good or ill. It permeates lives, and people justifiably get very concerned about who has that power. Alcohol. If alcohol were discovered tomorrow, it would be illegal. I don't think that's fair. Alcohol brings out the worst in some people. Some people are good whilst some are bad. Different alcohol affects people in different ways from personal experience. The only thing I present a danger to when sloshed is a good kebab. I do feel the British and other Europeans have a completely different relationship with alcohol than Americans do. True. I just talk a lot and become annoying. Traffic. The after work rush home is the worst. Everyone is tired, has generally had a bad day, and will do anything just to get home and relax. I-4 in Tampa is basically Mad Maximum Fury Road, but with regular cars. Pain. But at the same time it can bring out the strength you never thought you had too. This 100% it seems like pain can literally and figuratively make or break you. I have many people in my life with chronic pain. You'd be talking, and they'd suddenly go quiet, or politely excuse themselves, and later you find out they were in agony. On the flip side, I've been waiting in the and heard people screaming and cursing at doctors for symptoms that the person I was with was feeling tenfold. Of course pain is subjective and all that, but definitely so is a response. I'm not saying those that lash out in pain are necessarily bad either, I guess. I just wonder what the threshold is. What would turn me into a thrashing ball of pain and fury instead of the graceful martyr? Hope I never find out. As a person with disabling chronic pain, I thank you for this. In reality, I've lost very close friends and family because of their fear of pain. They have thoughts like you do, and instead of responding with empathy and acceptance, they recoil and withdraw. For many, it's easier to hide from us than to face fear. Likewise, it's easier to fault us, fire us, divorce us, and bargain with us. Good for you and anyone else who faces that fear and doesn't lose their humanity. Echo chambers. It is easy to dehumanize people who are different than you when you never spend any time interacting with them. What's an echo chamber? An echo chamber is a group of like-minded individuals who amplify each other's shared opinions until there is no room for dissenting opinions. When they amplify the shared opinion, it's like shouting into a canyon and hearing your own echo. Organized religion. Specifically Christianity. I'm a Christian, and I think religion and personal faith is fine, but when you start having multi-million-dollar church buildings and preachers with million-dollar private jets, something's gone wrong. I was listening to a Dave Ramsey episode a while back. A guy called in and said that his church pastor kept harassing him for increased donations. $100 here, $50 there. It got to the point where he felt like most of his money was going to the church. When he finally pushed back, the pastor tried to guilt trip him and told him that the more money you give to the church, the more God will take care of you in the long run. It's sick. Yeah, I'm convinced that if Jesus was standing in front of those prosperity gospel preachers, he'd either beat the crap out of them or straight up smite them. They're basically a modern form of the money changers in the temple. Money. The poor want it, the rich use it, and the inheritors will kill over it. Yes, money for poor people is totally a want. Look at those plebs wanting to eat. Thinking they're being cheated. It almost makes me want to stop doing games in class, because if there's two teams, both teams always complain that the other team has some sort of unfair advantage. In reality, neither team understands the true length of a minute and thinks they're being cheated on time. Bullying. I got bullied a lot in primary school. As soon as I got rid of my bullies in secondary school, I started bullying other people in my new school. I regret it. I was such a peen then. Death in the family. Nothing draws the worst of the worst extended family out from under their rock like the prospects of free crap. Fear. Every single answer so far ultimately ties back to fear. Fear of losing money. Fear of losing power. Fear of losing livelihood. Fear of sickness or death. Fear of failure. Fear of missing out. Fear, in any form, with any motivation, turns people into blind, panicky, stupid, vicious animals. And then there are those who benefit or profit by stoking fear in people. They, obviously, are worse than animals, but are likewise motivated by those same fears above, creating a vicious fear circle. You winning the lottery, your family will turn into super leeches. That's why you claim your money in a gal mask. If you don't get what I said, search up man claims lottery money in a gal mask. Money. I know lovely people that when you get money involved they turn into greedy assholes. I'm selling my company for a few millers Solana and decided to give each employee a massive piece of it because they deserved it in my mind, some up to 35%. I thought it was generous. Then the ones that got the most are the most asshole about it, claiming it's not enough compared with what they do for me, or demanding that I pay for stuff out of pocket for the deal to go through, so the percentage means more money. I was like, WTF. I don't give a crap about money as can plainly be seen. It came naturally from good and hard work. But these people, it's all they care about. They are wonderful people otherwise. I have good bit of money and have noticed this too. Also, if you buy someone lunch 1 out of 20 times they'll thank you. But if you buy someone lunch 19 out of 20 times, they'll complain the one time you don't pay. Former legal assistant here, I am telling you, you don't ever see the worst in someone until you're in the middle of a nasty divorce fighting for custody of your children. It's horrendous how evil some people can be to someone they once loved. Being challenged or ganged up on. My mother will freak out whenever she feels like either of these happening to her and she starts screaming. At those points, it's pretty much best to walk away and ignore her. Though she likes to say I'm running away from her. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I needed to interact with your tantrum. Other people. No matter how much of an asshole you think you can be when you're alone, when you're around other people whose ashlery is even slightly aligned with yours, there's an amplification effect. You start off just asking questions on internet message boards, and a year later you're snapping selfies while you try and storm the Capitol. This is a strange one, but I'm saying horses, at least in the dressage world. I dated and was married to a state champion dressage rider for about 5 years total, so I got a pretty close look into that world. Those people are not only just straight up weird, but they are conniving backstabbers as well. Also, when you add in that crappy air people have when they are just a little rich, it makes for some awful personalities all around. The riders aren't so much that way, but the owners and trainers definitely are. The riders are more just plain weird.